Good evening and welcome to the news roundup for Friday the 7th of March. Before we get into the news, please remember to like this video, share your views in the comments, and share the video with your family and friends.
Reach them! Always make sure the message reach them!
Now for the news in detail. Dante Brooks, son of dancehall artist Mavado, who was sentenced to life in prison nearly 4 years ago for murder, was this morning freed along with his co-accused Andre Hines after the Court of Appeal overturned their convictions. They were freed by Justices Marva MacDonald Bishop, David Fraser and Kisak Leng because of the trial judge's error in the treatment of the identification evidence, which was unreliable, and credibility issues with the sole eyewitness. We are of the view that the failure of the learned trial judge to adequately warn himself of the dangers inherent in the identification evidence, combined with the deficiencies in his treatment of the identification and matters going to the credibility of the prosecution's sole eyewitness, resulted in the applicants being deprived of the safeguards developed by law to prevent the ghastly risk of conviction on unreliable evidence of identification, they said in the published judgment. The appellate judges also commended the prosecution for acknowledging the judge's error and for not seeking a retrial. Brooks, who was 18 years old at the time of his sentencing, was ordered by Justice Leighton Pusey to serve 22 years before parole for the murder of Lorenzo Thomas. He was also sentenced to 15 years for arson and 20 years for illegal possession of a firearm. The sentences were to run concurrently. Andre Hines, who was 26 years old, was also given a life sentence for the murder, with a stipulation that he served 17 years before parole. He was sentenced to 15 years each for arson and illegal possession of a firearm. The two were arrested and charged in connection with the home invasion killing of Thomas in the St. Andrew community of Cassava Peace on the 5th of June 2018. Prosecutors laid evidence that Brooks and Hines were among 5 men who entered the house and shot Thomas before pushing his father into another room. They were accused of attempting to sever Thomas's head before aborting that plan because the machete was too dull. They then allegedly poured gasoline on the house and the body before setting both on fire. Prosecutors relied on the eyewitness testimony of Thomas's father, who indicated that he knew his son's killers from the community. Attorney at law Hugh Wildman represented Brooks, while attorneys at law Kemar Robinson and Oswald Senior Smith represented Hines. Local law enforcement is vowing that significant gains made in crime fighting in St. James will not be eroded by anyone, even as they monitor responses to the United States arrest and immigration hold on Montego Bay native and popular entertainer Squash. Senior Superintendent Eron Samuels, head of the St. James Police, speaking on the development that he acknowledged could have implications in Western Jamaica, said, "We are indeed paying attention and we are watching keenly to see the outcome." The entertainer is from South Spring in St. James, one of the areas in which the police have seen numerous murders and shootings over the years, but have managed to regain some amount of control, with representatives of warring factions either jailed, killed, or displaced through migration. We will not allow anyone to pull back the gains we have made over the period, and we will ensure that we continue towards our target of below 100 murders for the year, Samuels said. Music producer Linval Shabdon Thompson and his co-accused Tajay Clark, who are charged with a triple murder committed in Rose Heights, St. James in 2022, will learn next Tuesday if an overseas prosecution witness will be allowed to give evidence via a virtual platform in their trial. The two defendants are before the St. James Circuit Court to answer to the May 25, 2022 incident in which 24-year-old Shamario Chippy Calvin, 27-year-old Chadwell Bombrain Fraser, and 26-year-old Tony and Two Fly Reed were killed during a gun attack at a party. The St. James Circuit Court has been awaiting the ruling from presiding High Court Justice Judith Pusey regarding the witness, who is facing a murder charge in Florida. The prosecution made its application on the 8th of January this year with regard to his potential testimony. Thompson and Clark, who are currently remanded in police custody, were expected to start their trial on the 19th of February a date that was set following their January 8 court appearance. However, their matter was put off until this past Tuesday to allow time for the judge to give her ruling before a new March 11 trial date. It has not been made clear why Tuesday's expected delivery of the ruling regarding the overseas witness was delayed, but reporters were advised that Pusey was not in a position to give her a judgment at that time. In addition to their murder charges in relation to the deaths of Calvin, Fraser and Reed, the defendants are charged with wounding with intent and shooting with intent arising from the 2022 incident. The St. Andrews South Police seized one seized P10 9mm pistol with a magazine containing 5 9mm rounds of ammunition during an operation on Delamere Avenue in Kingston 13 about 12:30 a.m. on Friday, March 7th. One man was taken into custody in relation to the seizure. The police are continuing their investigations. An investigation has been launched into the fatal shooting of a man by the police in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, after he allegedly attempted to disarm a policeman on Thursday night. Reports are that about 7:15 p.m., the police reportedly conducted a snap raid in search of a suspect in the murder of a man on Wednesday. The police say a man fitting the description of the murder suspect was spotted in the vicinity of a bar and the police advanced towards him. Upon seeing the police, he reportedly went through a gate and into a house along Oxford Road with the police in pursuit. After entering a room in the house, the police reportedly informed him why they were there, but the man allegedly grabbed onto one of the policemen's gun and a tussle developed. He reportedly hit the policeman during the tussle and was shot and injured by another member of the police team. The man, whose identity has not yet been disclosed, was taken to the Spanish Town Hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. This brings to 61 the number of people fatally shot by members of the security forces since the start of the year. The Independent Commission of Investigations Indicom has launched a probe into the matter. 2 men were killed and another injured in a gun attack in Patrick City in St. Andrew on Thursday night. The deceased has been identified as 29-year-old Raheem Nelson, a taxi operator from Beaconsfield, Patrick City, and 34-year-old Keith Donaldson, a business operator from a Kingston 20 address. Reports indicate that the men were sitting along the roadway at the intersection of Conway Drive and Aberville Avenue when a lone gunman approached and opened fire, hitting them. They were rushed to hospital where Nelson and Donaldson were pronounced dead. The third victim is undergoing treatment. The matter remains under investigation. The police in St. Elizabeth seized 200 pounds of ganja and 8 pounds of seeds in the Watchwell district on Wednesday. Reports are that around 10 a.m., officers on an operation carried out a search in the area and discovered the ganja and the ganja seeds. The police stated that the seized weed was subsequently destroyed by burning. It is not disclosed whether anyone were arrested. The Area 3 Firearm and Narcotics Investigation Division is conducting a probe into the matter. After more than a year on the run, a 24-year-old man was arrested and charged with several gun-related offenses following an incident in his community on Wednesday, November 22, 2023. He is Kimarley Lewis, otherwise called 40 Ball, of Lissant Road in Kingston. Reports from the Central Police are that about 9:30 a.m., Lewis, who was allegedly armed with a handgun, entered the premises and discharged 2 rounds of ammunition in the vicinity of 2 men. Following his arrest, investigators charged Lewis following a question and answer session in the presence of his attorney on Tuesday, March 4. He was charged with the following offenses: assault at common law, using a firearm to commit a felony, possession of a prohibited weapon, and unauthorized possession of ammunition. A court date is being arranged for him. The Court of Appeal on Thursday delivered a historic decision that will establish a precedent guiding how pretrial remand is to be treated when there is a mandatory minimum sentence. The court set aside Portland farmer Cecil Monroe's mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years for wounding with intent and replaced it with 12 years and 3 months to account for the 33-month pre-remand sentence for which he had not been credited because of the mandatory minimum requirement. Moore, who was sentenced in 2016 for the wounding charge as well as 8 years for illegal possession of a firearm, following a retrial, is expected to be released soon as he has completed 2/3 of his sentence. He was initially convicted on gun charges in 2012 and sentenced to 15 years after shooting the complainant in a June 17, 2012 incident, but a retrial was ordered after a high court found that his first trial was unfairly conducted. Thursday's decision was made by a 9-member panel led by a Court of Appeal President Mavado Bishop, following a 3-day special sitting to address the issue of whether the applicant should be given credit for time served in pre-trial custody in recognition of his constitutional right to liberty, notwithstanding the mandatory minimum sentence for wounding with intent under Section 20 subsection 2 subsection B of the Offences Against the Persons Act. The sitting stemmed from an appeal brought by Moore against his conviction and the sentence. The court, however, refused the appeal against conviction. Justice McDonald Bishop, in handing down the order, noted that the court need to act expeditiously in light of the issue surrounding Moore's release date, but said the court would provide its reasoning in the written judgment. The police have named 3 men as persons of interest in the shooting death of a bus driver on Burke Road in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, on Wednesday. Head of the St. Catherine North Police Division, Senior Superintendent Upton Nicholson, says the victim was ambushed.
Sometime after 8 a.m. on March 5, 2025, a man known as Michael, who is said to be a bus driver, was standing along Burke Road in the vicinity of the Sagicor Shopping Center when men approached him on foot, opened gunfire hitting him all over his body, and then the men escaped on foot in the direction of 2B Oxford Road, more popularly known as Top Banks. The police were notified and the injured man was transported to the Spanish Town Hospital where he was pronounced dead.
SSP Nicholson says the 3 persons of interest are from the 2B Oxford Road area in the Old Capital, commonly referred to as Top Banks.
The St. Catherine North CIB immediately commenced investigations, and as at 5 p.m. today, Thursday, March 6, 2025, the detectives have identified the following persons of interest. A man known as Danga Reds of 2B Oxford Road, more popularly known as Top Banks. A man known as Debo of Top Banks. And another man who has been referred to as Talis, who is said to be from a Clarendon address, but has recently been residing in the Top Banks area. Now, Talis is described as slim and his front teeth protrude. It is what we call buck teeth. These men are asked to report immediately to the Spanish Town CIB.
The police rescued a man believed to be of unsound mind after irate residents turned on him following a stabbing incident which left 1 man dead and 2 others wounded in Marterbury, Trelawney on Friday. Reports say he was severely beaten, and according to the parish's police chief, Superintendent Winston Milton, he is now in hospital on the police guard. Reports are that sometime Friday afternoon, the accused is said to have attacked and stabbed 3 men. The men suffered various wounds, with one later succumbing to the injuries he sustained. According to Milton, the name of the deceased has not yet been ascertained. The other 2 men were taken to hospital as well, but their injuries are not deemed as life-threatening at this time. And that is it for your news roundup for today. We would appreciate you liking this video, leaving a comment, and sharing the video with your family and friends. Have a good evening and see you next time.